Good morning, how are you? I am here with you again today to answer your questions. Most of the readers of this book are sending in questions. You are the universe discovering your cosmic self and why it matters. But you can send me any question on any topic, and the email to send it to is info @jayo.com. Info info@jayo, JIYO.com. info@jayo.com. info@jayo.com. Thank you for supporting this book, but as I said, the questions can come for any topic that you have in mind, and I will do my best to share my insights with you. Your questions are placed in a queue and I answer them in the order that they come up, and I do my best to answer one every day. So today's question is from Alina Adamkova. Hi Deepak, I was wondering whether the creative ideas are part of unconscious mind or part of conscious mind, because often we have an idea when we do any artwork, for example, coming from some source, as you said, to Oprah. We just focus on the idea and work on it, write down the ideas or draw them out. Then we forget the noise around us. The ideas are running our mind, and we unconsciously write it to not forget it. We are focused on it, but it's like it comes to our mind unconsciously. Then we realize the result and realize what to do with it. I think it's also about intuition. So it's a long question, but basically Alina is asking, where do creative ideas come from? Okay, so let's actually talk about this. This is a very important thing that we should talk about, because in my belief, in my understanding, every child that is born is infinitely creative, and that all of us have access to infinite creativity. So you have access to as much creativity as Einstein or Michelangelo or Beethoven or Mozart or Newton or Galileo. You have that in you, and so does everyone else. Okay, but now in order to understand that, let's talk about where ideas come from. So most ideas that people have are basically a recycling of the conditioned mind. So there's no creativity in that. We are all rushing to conform to the conditioned mind, which is literally centuries of history. Every word that we utter, for example, every bit of our language is something that we learned, and then not only did we learn language, we learned constructs and stories that have been recycling for thousands of years. So what we call pure existence or pure awareness is beyond all conditioning. So take away every story that you've heard, take away every construct that you have, take away everything that you have learned, take away all the recycling of ideas that has happened through centuries and centuries and centuries of human living, and all of that has created the stories that we currently hold to be true. The most popular story that we currently hold to be true is the scientific story, but remember, science exists only in the collective imagination of scientists. Science is based on a particular methodology of inquiry, a particular mode of inquiry, which comes from ideas first, theories. Ideas create theories. Theories create constructs. Constructs lead to the conceptualization of experiments and then observations, all happening in consciousness. And the history of science is actually the destruction of old stories and the creation of new stories. And when the new story gets created, then we think this is the right story till the next story comes along. So in science, for example, there is the whole idea of Newtonian physics and then Einstein's theory of relativity, quantum physics, on and on. And people are now talking about quantum entanglement and, space-time geometry and gravitational waves, all part of the collective story which is evolving. And even as it is evolving, there are other stories that are dying. Okay? So for a lot of people, the biblical story has died. The mythological story has died. But remember, these are all stories, and stories gain strength when there is collective, intersubjective agreement on the validity of the story, till the next story comes along. Okay, I hope I've made that clear. Okay, so now what is reality? Reality can't be a story, right? Reality is the source of all stories, which means reality is the source of all ideas. And if you want to have creative ideas, then you have to let go of a lot of the old ideas. You have to not only think outside the box, you have to get rid of the box altogether if you really want to be creative. Okay? So in order to do that, let's go to a deeper understanding of the source of ideas, the source of thought, the source of existence, the source of experience. Once we go there, then we can access infinite creativity. And everyone can do that. You have as much creativity as Einstein or Tagore or Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or Mozart or Buddha or anyone else that you want to think about. So I'll come back to that in 15 seconds. Here we are back again. So let's access creativity now. And let's go into the secret of all creativity. All creativity. Let's start with a simple phrase, I am. So I am is the best expression for existence. I am is pure awareness. I am is pure consciousness. I am is pure existence. I am is eternally now. I am is prior to thought. I am is prior to perception. I am is prior to experience. I am is prior to all names and forms. The I am in you is the I am in me. So I am is prior to all conditioning, prior to all stories. For a moment, think what it would be like to give up all stories. When you give up all stories, your mind is silent, because the mind is nothing other than stories. In that pure awareness is infinite creativity. In that pure awareness is infinite correlation. In that pure awareness, the first knowing is I exist. And then I sense, and then I know, and then I think, and then I feel, and then I speak, and then I perceive, and then I experience what we call everyday reality. But everyday reality is the projection of our collective story, which then recycles as the personal story. I am pure love is also good. Okay? So here are the 9 steps to creativity. Step 1, intended vision. Have a clear vision of what you would like to create. Whatever it is, a new business, a new piece of art, a new invention, a new way of living, a new relationship, anything you want to create. Have a clear vision. So that is called the intended outcome, the clarity of vision. But the vision is not just seeing. It's the vision should be in all the 5 senses. Sound, touch, sight, taste, smell, color, form, shape, everything. Clarity of vision, total clarity of vision, intended outcome. Step 1. Step 2, information gathering. Gather all the information. This information gathering is actually a way to know what the current conditioned mind has to say about that intended outcome. Information gathering is the second step. These days you can gather information on the internet, on Google, whatever. You want to get rid of this disease, go to the internet. You want to create a new song, look at the internet and see which category and who's doing that, etc. You want to write a new story, look at all the story writers. The information gathering is just so you know what is already there in the conditioned mind and what to discard and what to look at. And so that leads to the third step, which is information analysis. What to keep and what to discard. This is a very interesting step because it allows you to know what is already in the conditioned mind and what to keep, what to learn from, and what to discard. So that's the third step, information analysis. The fourth step is incubation. Incubation, which means a total letting go and resting in pure awareness, resting in that experience of no mantra, no thought, resting in being, resting in eternal now, resting in that awareness with no stories, incubation. In incubation, we also basically give up all stories, and also in incubation we surrender to unpredictability. It is in the proliferation of unpredictability that creativity arises. So incubation is the fourth step. When we surrender to unpredictability in that stillness of being, then a quantum leap of creativity occurs, which we call insight. It is the death of an old context, meaning, relationship, story, and the creation of a new context, meaning, relationship, and story, which has little, if nothing, to do with the old story. It's a death and a resurrection. So we can say that's a quantum leap of insight, the creative moment, the aha experience. Okay? So that's the next step. what we've covered so many steps: intended outcome, information gathering, information analysis, incubation, insight. Insight leads to inspiration, not to motivation. Inspiration, which means to be in spirit. Motivation is very weak. It only exists in the mind, and the mind is camouflaging all creativity anyway. So inspiration. And then from inspiration, we have implementation, 7th step. And if it works, then we have integration, and that's 8th step. And the final step is incarnation. We can even say reincarnation, death and resurrection. So those are the 9 steps: intended outcome, information gathering, information analysis, incubation, insight, inspiration, implementation, integration, incarnation. 9 steps, I counted them. Okay, so to answer the question that Alina asked, is this in subconscious mind, unconscious mind, conscious mind? These are words that a lot of people have used over the ages, and I don't like these words. So there's no such thing as, there's only awareness. Okay? There's only awareness, and everything exists in awareness. So if I ask you just now to put your awareness in your left foot, well, now your left foot is an experience in your awareness, but it already existed in awareness. So I ask you right now to think of a beautiful sunset, and you have that experience, but it was already there potentially in awareness. All things exist eternally in awareness. They become part of our experience only through attention and intention. So before I asked you to put your attention, and do it right now, put your attention in your face, in the tingling sensation in your face. Now you have the experience. But the face was already in awareness. So even in deep sleep, there's absence of experience, but there is awareness. And in that awareness, all exists. The past exists, the present exists, the future exists. But only as a potential. When you go to that level through attention and intention, and through the 9 steps that are articulated, then you bring that potential into the actual experience. But awareness contains all. Awareness is the immeasurable potential of all that was, all that is, and all that will be. So in deep sleep, by the way, you have access to that too, to pure awareness. If you take an intention there, and you have an intended outcome, you might wake up in the morning with a complete inspiration and insight and a solution. So let's take a very common example. You're trying to remember a name, and it's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't remember it. How many people have had that experience, and that they have this name that they're trying to think of? They can see the person in their mind's eye, but they can't remember their name. It's just on the tip of their tongue, and they struggle and struggle, and then they give up, and then a little while later, when they're doing something else completely, the name suddenly pops up. Okay, so you had the intention, and then you gave up because that was too much mental struggle, and out of sheer fatigue you gave up, and the mind relaxed into pure awareness. And then, your intention was doing a file search for that name that was already there in awareness. And then, after the file search was over, boom, it showed up as an experience. So let's make a difference between experience and awareness. Awareness is eternally now, and experience is also eternally now, because there's only eternally now. Okay? If I ask you to get out of this moment, you can't. If you think about the past, that's a thought now. If you think about the future, that's a thought now. The eternal now is not a location in space, nor is it a moment in time. In fact, there are no moments in time, because a moment in time implies intervals between two moments. But you can only experience now. Have you ever seen what we call a moment show up in your awareness and then disappear in your awareness, followed by another moment that shows up in your awareness and disappears in your awareness? So actually, Ramanand Dixit, thank you. So there are no moments in time. There are no locations in space. Moments in time, locations in space are constructs, stories. And we have believed a collective story all the time. That's what it is to be a human. But I'm asking you to go beyond being human, to now jump to the next stage of evolution, meta-human. Meta-human. What Sri Aurobindo called the superhuman. You have to get there in order to access real creativity, which we need right now, collectively, to create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier and happier planet. So let's do it together. Discard all stories and employ those 9 steps that I mentioned. Let's share our stories, new stories, with each other. And let's take the best stories and let's actualize them into experience. Remembering all the time that experience arises and subsides as a story till the next story emerges. Only awareness, the source of all stories, the source of all ideas, the source of thought, the source of perception, the source of what we call everyday reality, the dream that we are collectively projecting, is transient till a new story comes along. But it's time to create that new story. And it's time to go to the source of all stories. Thank you, Ramanand Dixit. Thank you, Mary Lee Viriram. Thank you, all my friends. And if you like this video, share with it. And thank you for supporting You Are the Universe, discovering your cosmic self and why it matters. Until tomorrow, with all my love, this is Deepak. No, Deepak is a story. This is I am. The I am in you, which is the I am in me. And the only response to that is Namaste.